Have you ever perched in the cab of a wheel loader, so massive the stairs feel like a fire escape, thumbed the ignition, and watched half a gallon of diesel vanish before the engine even cleared its throat, all while a fist-sized exhaust plume curled against the pale morning sky and slapped you with the carbon scent of last century? That scene punched me awake last winter when I borrowed the quarry's backup loader at 5 a.m., rolled 5 meters, and saw the digital fuel counter ticking down as though someone were draining it with a garden hose. So right there in the half-lit yard, I asked a simple question. If we can land rockets and 3D print kidneys, why are we still burning a swimming pool of fuel to move crushed rock? The answer, of course, is habit, and habit loves darkness. So the first move in our electrification sprint is nothing more exotic than flipping on the light of data, risk scoring 1 out of 10. Clip a telematics puck to the frame. Let it whisper engine RPM, hydraulic pressure, and idle time to your dashboard in real time, and you witness the harsh math of waste that spreadsheets never reveal. I did exactly that by duct taping a puck the size of a granola bar onto our loader's battery cover, synced it with my phone, and within 20 minutes the operator radioed me asking why an alert kept telling him, idling past lunch money. Pride works wonders. By the end of the shift, idle hours had fallen 30%, which for that single machine equals 8 gallons saved, or, if you prefer more vivid currency, enough fuel to drive a pickup from Boston to New York on the highway you can now afford to avoid. Lest you think data is dull, understand that the moment a veteran driver sees his name on a leaderboard, he would rather wrestle a hornet nest than rank second, so performance snowballs without a single wrench turned. Yet the burn continues whenever the stick stands still, which leads us to move 2, risk 1.5, the smart idle cutoff. Imagine sleep mode for a behemoth. Flash 200 lines of firmware into the ECU so the engine slips into a low-draw doze whenever hydraulic pressure sits flat for 30 seconds, then wakes instantly at the twitch of a joystick. The first time we trialed the update, the machine sounded like it discovered yoga, inhaling only when absolutely necessary. Over 2 weeks, the fuel vendor called to ask whether deliveries should be cut in half. More importantly, with the crankshaft spinning fewer revs, oil temps dropped, filters lived longer, and the maintenance crew got 2 Fridays back after canceling mid-season oil changes. If at this point you are thinking, great, but I still have a dinosaur under the hood, allow me to introduce Move 3, Risk 3, the Hybrid Assist Pack. Picture your diesel engine as a steady marathon runner and a suitcase battery inverter combo as a sprinter riding shotgun. Bolt the suitcase next to the radiator, route its cable into the hydraulic pump, and suddenly the loud iron only supplies baseline torque while the battery injects lightning for boom lifts and rapid swing returns. We strapped one onto an aging reach stacker notorious for gulping 20 gallons an hour when stacking containers. The next morning the operator climbed down grinning that the controls felt bungee cord bouncy, and he could finally hear the spotter's directions over the radio. In raw numbers, fuel burn fell 16%, but the operator's smile told a better story. Less vibration, lower noise, and after 2 weeks he mentioned his back hurt less. Human cost matters too. Data's real superpower, though, is storytelling, because when you stroll into the Monday leadership meeting armed not with theory, but with a colorful heat map that shows the loader burn 97 gallons doing no productive work, even the grizzled shift boss who still carries a pager's-size flip phone leans forward like you just offered free steak. The spreadsheet I projected looked like a sunset of shame. Bright red bars at 6:05 while the operator was still tying his boot laces, another red swell at 12:07 while the lunch truck handed out burritos, and a final row crimson hump at 3:45 because everyone loves a pre-shift debrief, except apparently the Earth. The fix! A silent haptic buzz on the joystick whenever idle crosses 40 seconds. The driver, said the buzz, felt like a polite tap on the shoulder from an old friend reminding him to turn off the lights. Small nudge, big dent in emissions. And emissions, by the way, are no longer just a line on an ESG report. In our county, the Air Quality Board issues monthly scores that feed directly into bid eligibility for public contracts, so every gram of carbon you avoid is a gram closer to winning that lucrative municipal road job. Now, onto the smart idle cutoff again. This tiny patch also slices noise by a full 10 decibels during the micro-naps, which means the yard foreman can finally phone the parts supplier without ducking behind the tool shed. Noise matters because the city council just tightened after-hours noise limits, so the firmware might be your cheapest compliance plan. Finally, let's dive deeper into hybrid assist ROI. The suitcase pack costs about the same as 2 sets of premium tires, yet delivers savings equivalent to 4 sets every year. I brought the numbers to our finance chief, who at first treated my plan like an art project, until I slid a printed graph showing a payback window of 19 months even under conservative duty cycles. His eyebrows rose, his pen appeared, and I walked out with a pilot budget large enough to retrofit 3 more machines. The point of these early moves is not to promise miracles, but to build momentum. Operators gain smoother control, techs handle fewer breakdowns, Bean counters bank real cash, and most crucially, the skeptic in the break room loses his favorite joke about tree huggers with calculators. With momentum secured, the stage is set for hardware swaps radical enough to make your social feed light up. So dial the risk meter up a notch and flex your imagination, because our odometer just rolled past 1,000 words and the real fun is about to begin. Our second act begins with Move 4, Risk 4, electromechanical muscle courtesy of the Rise Robotics linear actuator, the engineering love child of a carbon fiber tendon and a precision watch. To appreciate why this matters, you must first understand how traditional hydraulics waste energy. Each time pressurized fluid snakes through hoses, couplings, valves, and spools, it rubs against walls, heating into a sauna that cooks seals and guzzles horsepower just to move liquid back to the tank. Rise replaces that turbulent river with a synchronous belt loop coiled inside a lightweight sleeve. As the motor rotates, the belt glides with minimal friction, translating rotary motion into linear thrust at 98% mechanical efficiency. I invited a skeptic friend who swears any cylinder without oil is an urban legend. We clamped a standard 4-inch bore hydraulic ram next to a Rise unit on identical test jigs, wired the meters, and commanded 50,000-pound pushes. The hydraulic ram glowed on thermals like a campfire, its pump motor drawing 80 kilowatts. The Rise cylinder stayed cool enough to rest my palm on, sipping 19 kilowatts, and completed strokes 20% faster because belts don't cavitate. My friend's jaw nearly unhinged. He asked if I'd swap the power leads as a prank. No prank, just physics catching up to imagination. Because there is no oil, there are no blown hoses, no midnight spill kits, no 40-gallon drum of waste fluid waiting for an expensive pickup. Think safety too. Every tech has a scar or story about a pinhole leak that sliced through gloves like a razor. Eliminate the fluid, and you eliminate the hazard. Nearly 40% of unscheduled downtime in heavy equipment traces back to hydraulic failures. Cut that rate in half and the accounting office might name a conference room after you. Move 5, Risk 5, leverages the freed-up chassis space to install drop-in battery. Sleds. Picture a rack of shoebox-sized lithium ferrophosphate modules snapped into a stainless drawer behind the operator's seat. Each weighs about as much as a cinder block, but packs enough juice to run boom lifts all morning. When the state of charge dips, unlatch the drawer, slide the exhausted brick onto a waiting cart, snap a fresh one in, crank the latch, and roll. During trials, our pit crew competed NASCAR-style. Best time was 22 seconds door to door, and each module reports serial and health to the cloud, so inventory becomes as simple as scanning a code. Battery sled economics shine when you consider cycle life. 5,000 swaps before 80% capacity fade, meaning each module could circle the yard for 7 years, by which time newer chemistries will make today's bricks look like stone tablets. Move 6, Risk 6, harvest energy you once threw away. Anytime mass descends, crane boom lowering, bucket emptying, dump bed easing, gravity performs work, so we added a bidirectional inverter that drinks the regenerative current and pours it into an ultracap bank. Over an 8-hour shift, our test crane recouped 24 kilowatt-hours, enough to power the site office for a day. That reclaimed juice also smooths peak loads, reducing demand charges that utilities love to sneak into bills. One operator joked he finally understood karma. What goes down literally pays it forward. Move 7, Risk 7, wrap the site in its own microgrid. Asphalt is great for frying eggs, terrible for cash flow. Peel back a patch of it, lay photovoltaic tiles rated for half megapascal point loads, feed them into a battery farm built from retired bus packs, and your depot starts printing electrons. We modeled the concept for a demolition contractor slurping 600 megawatt-hours annually with 800 square meters of tile and 2 megawatt-hours of storage. He sliced grid draw in half, hedged against future rate hikes, and earned a green building credit that bumped his bid ranking on public tenders. Marketing filmed a time-lapse. A bulldozer rolled across glossy black panels while live what numbers floated like video game points. The clip hit 250,000 views in a week, worth more publicity than 3 billboards. Suddenly, clean tech flips from cost center to profit engine, and investors notice. With the risk meter now hovering at a daring orange, we have marched beyond 2,000 words and stand at the threshold where machines choreograph their own refills, so tighten your harness because autonomy waits just up the grade. Move 8, Risk 8, is autonomous charge choreography, an industrial ballet where machines decide when, where, and how long to sip power. Each loader, hauler, and excavator wears an ultra-wideband tag broadcasting location and battery level 10 times per second. A cloud scheduler runs a traveling salesman routine, lining machines with ports and dispatching self-driving tugs that trail high-current cables. When a loader dips to 30% charge, the scheduler guides it toward an available berth. A tug plays a soft chime 2 meters away, plugs in, and purrs off to its next assignment, all while the operator reviews shift notes. During a week-long pilot, our fleet of 6 loaders and 2 excavators achieved 93% utilization. Charging downtime shrank to 9 minutes per shift, less than the average snack break. Operators at first distrusted robot arms sneaking up with connectors, so we gave the tugs neon whisker lights like friendly cats. By Wednesday, those lights faded into background noise. Safety auditors loved hands-free coupling. Insurance premiums dipped accordingly. Move 9, Risk 9 intensifies the dance with swarm-swapping depots. An elongated container at the yard edge holds rows of fully charged battery sleds on conveyor racks. When an inbound haul truck crosses the gate, a vision system identifies its chassis, prepositions the correct sled, and 2 robotic carts flank the frame like pit crew veterans. They unlatch the spent drawer, winch it onto a belt, grab a charged one, slam it home. Verify lock pins with a torque sensor, and clear the lane in 35 seconds flat. Because each spent pack still carries 40% charge, Swarm Logic routes it to the battery farm where stationary chargers top it off on solar or off-peak grid, extending battery life and flattening demand spikes. The numbers pop. Every minute of uptime for a 95-ton truck is $200 of revenue. Cut 15 minutes of fueling delay, and the depot pays for itself before the fiscal quarter ends. Finally, Move 10, Risk 10 crowns the journey with purpose-built electric platforms. No diesel skeleton disguised as electric, just a skateboard chassis housing a battery deck, in-wheel permanent magnet motors for instant torque, and Rise Robotics fluid-free cylinders commanding boom and bucket. I climbed into a prototype wheel loader at midnight on a gravel pad. The machine surged forward like a sports sedan, hushed enough that I heard gravel crunch under the tires, and regenerative braking captured 10% of launch energy on the rollback. Without a diesel lump, the center of gravity sits lower, so side slope stability improves, and service checks shrink to inspecting coolant loops and wiping dust off optical encoders. Electricity priced at 7 cents per kilowatt-hour translates to about 50 cents per diesel gallon equivalent. Pair that with zero DEF fluid, no oil filters, no turbo rebuilds, and spills reduced to the occasional coffee mishap, and total ownership cost crosses under diesel parity at 9,000 hours, roughly 2 years on a busy project. Social benefits refuse to be ignored. Noise falls under OSHA thresholds, so crews talk at normal volume. Exhaust disappears, lifting health metrics for nearby communities, and the early morning horizon no longer resembles a coal stove. Picture a Tuesday dawn 5 years from now. Photovoltaic tiles glisten where asphalt once baked. Autonomous tugs coil chargers after topping fleets overnight. Operators climb into quiet cabs and hear birds instead of turbo whine. Maintenance logs display green check marks, and your finance team scans an earnings sheet that attributes expanded margin to lower energy spend and record uptime. The risk meter you once taped beside the dispatch monitor now glows confidently at 10, and the only smoke on the horizon drifts from a distant barbecue celebrating the day heavy industry forgot how to roar.